Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Avatar video. This is going to be my fan commentary track for Book 2 Earth, Episode 11, The Desert. So if you want to sync up your copy of the episode with this video, what you need to do is have your episode ready to go, whether that be the Blu-ray, DVD, or any way you have the episode. And I am going to pause in just a little bit as part of this intro. It'll be about a 10-second pause and then I'll start speaking again. And when I start speaking again, that's when I'm going to hit play. You should hit play on your episode at that point as well, and we should be synced up. So I'm going to stop speaking now. There'll be a pause. Hit play when you hear me speak again. Okay, so here we are with 2:11, The Desert. This is my second favorite episode of Avatar, and a lot of you may kind of react like, what? This one as second favorite? That's a little odd. I think most people can acknowledge this is a very, very good episode, but I rate it quite highly because, especially I think in the last few years, I've definitely moved towards really giving high praise to these sort of more individual episodes that are really able to deliver on their own with kind of big character moments, big character arcs, rather than just, you know, the best episodes are the finales, and, you know, they're very much a case of like, which part of the finale do you pick, you know, because obviously they're all individual episodes. So individually, like this, I feel is one of the stronger episodes just in terms of what happens within it, and not just, you know, as part of a finale or anything like that. Both sides of the story are very, very interesting. You have the struggle as Team Avatar makes their way out of the desert with everyone pretty much except Katara having to deal with some situation that they get themselves into. The emotion of Aang dealing with the loss of Appa, Toph having to deal with just the environment that is the sand and how that affects her bending and her sight through her earth bending, and then Sokka just through seemingly being resourceful ending up, you know, basically having to drinking cactus juice and taking himself out of action for most of this episode. And then on the Zuko side of the story, of course, it's Iroh and the White Lotus, but there's also like interesting like Rough Rhino stuff at the very start, so covers a lot of ground. But it's a great character episode, mainly here I think focused on Aang and Katara, Aang's anger and frustration about what's happened, linking very heavily in with the main, you know, weakness, the flaw that Aang has as a character, and that's that he is overly attached to the people he cares about, and that includes Appa, of course. And this will link quite heavily into his arc over the course of this book, as he comes to learn the Avatar state through the chakras, and what the Guru tells him about, you know, needing to, you know, remove all attachments, and eventually it moves to being about Katara, but here you see that attachment and how it's a weakness with Appa. And the idea, I think, that you get from it is that the Guru was basically telling Aang, don't make your love for Katara so much of a flaw that you will be willing to do the things that kind of Aang borderline ends up doing in this episode here. Don't make it such a kind of crippling weakness that you are attached to people and you struggle so badly if anything happens to them. It's not that you can't care or you can't be attached, it's the level to which. Don't let it, you know, define you. Don't let that be the sole thing that kind of causes all of your actions. But yeah, Iroh has his injury, of course, from the chase a few episodes ago. But yeah, here's the Rough Rhinos. And like, this is great. Like, these are kind of relatively minor villains, but like here it's revealed that Iroh actually knows them quite well. He knows them by name. He knows that they're like a singing group at times. And like they obviously Team Avatar has fought them before. And then probably the most important thing with these guys is that obviously these are the guys who caused what happened to Jet. The reason Jet hates the Fire Nation is because of what these guys did, and Jet never gets that opportunity to face these guys. And that's one of the biggest, I think, tragedies in the way of Avatar, is Jet's death and what it represents. Completely flub saying that, but yeah. And yeah, he knows their names, like Tachi, we have Bashir back there, and so on. Yalu, the explosives expert. And yeah, again, Iroh, without really using his bending, watch how little he uses his bending in this fight. Just using the environment to his advantage, just very clever maneuvers. And Zuko uses his bending kind of much more than Bashir, than Iroh does. But yeah, Monkey is a very powerful firebender, and Iroh just blocks. Doesn't fight back, just blocks and allows Zuko to get the advantage. Just the skill of a true master with such experience, like just being able to just like completely stonewall a fairly powerful bender like Monkey. Just like a subtle showing of how powerful Iroh is. And this is a fun line because, you know, no friends that don't want to attack me. And he considers it and it's like, oh, maybe that's right. But then, of course, by the end of the episode, you realize that, oh, he's a leading member of the Order to White Lotus. Of course he has people who don't want to attack him and will do everything they can to help him, which is significant come the end of the episode. Well, I suppose the second half of their plot in the episode. And yeah, here we immediately encounter the problems that we're dealing with. Aang is not going to be much help in terms of teamwork here because he's so set on finding Appa and just dealing with his feelings about that. Toph isn't going to be the most useful here just because she's struggling to see. Like, this is one of the few times we really see her blindness kind of actually affect her, and the others have to really guide her around. And then, as we see them dealing with the not having much water, Sokka is obviously going to do this. Seemingly quite resourceful of just like, oh, some plants can have water in them, some sort of liquid, that'll be okay. Momo drinks it as well, of course. So Momo's out of action as well for the most part. And yeah, from resourcefulness into just on drugs basically for most of the episode. And I think this is a very fun moment. It is funny. I think over the years it's become a little overdone, and I would never really say that this is the funniest part of Avatar. I get it's a very memorable, kind of funny moment, but I think there are better moments. Even in the episode, this just Sokka being really weird as he's just completely kind of tripping out here is fun, but I think it's a little bit better later on when they more take the approach of him being very like suspicious of everything and like just having like big reactions rather than just being kind of completely dazed and out of it. But it's a kind of fun plot point to sort of take Sokka out of the episode, which leaves Katara having to kind of really take on the leadership role as both the, you know, emotional heart of the group, but also being the actual leader here, the only one who's really able to bring them together and get them out, make stuff happen. And yeah, Aang's anger and rage here, as he really struggles to deal with the fact that Appa's been taken. And you completely get it because Appa is like his oldest friend. Like they grew up together. Aang met Appa when he was young and they've been together all this time. They were sealed together in the ice. Appa is such an important representation of like what's left of the airbenders. And then just on the animation side of things, like I love that they always remember Momo's important, and they always have Momo sort of doing something. So Momo drank the juice as well, so he's freaking out kind of just as much as Sokka, so he's there with Sokka and having it all happen. But here we are. Misty palms Oasis, as we obviously have Master Yu here and Xin Fu tracking the team, mainly Toph, but as we'll see here, they're going to start investigating kind of anyone they can since they're already basically being bounty hunters. And here we go. You know, Blue Spirit, there's Zhong Zhong, Aang as well, and look who else they find. Iroh and Zuko. And here we go, like the lighting here, the way they do the colors to show it's nighttime, really well done. And yeah, Aang sort of having lost hope here, and this continues into the next episode, of course, as we get him sort of talking more and seemingly coming to his own conclusion about the way things are, and Katara really helps him through it in the next episode with what happens. So, you know, this links very nicely into the next episode as well, and stemming off, you know, of course, the library as well. But yeah, it's Katara realizing at this point that she has to take the leadership role in the group. And just here we go, the determination. She's not going to let everyone give up here. They're all getting out of this, and she's going to make it happen. And it's a pretty simple thing, but it's just really great to see that for the character. That usually it's either Sokka coming up with the plans, or it's maybe just Aang as the Avatar being the leader of the group. But here is Katara making sure to keep them all together and just, you know, acknowledging sure how they all feel. And yeah, the growing water problem here as well. And I think this is probably one of the funniest parts of the episode. It's just the read on the "you've killed us all," and then he forgets bending. And then here we go, he's just really suspicious, like, no, I didn't do it, I didn't do anything. It was you. You ratted me out. That's another one of the funny moments. And then Mo sort of like crying, as if like, you know, I didn't mean to do it. And you see he still continues for a few seconds afterwards. And then yes, Katara just being kind of resourceful here, being clever. Usually this would be like Sokka's big thing of just like, you know, deciphering the maps and stuff like that. But here's Katara showing that she can do it as well. And yeah, the speciality drink, of course. Iroh's had a few, as you can see there. But then Iroh spots something that will get him what he needs. The Pai Sho table. And suddenly the significance of this game is not just a game we've seen some people play in a few scenes, but suddenly it means a little bit more. Not every time you see it, but a lot of the times you will see this game, especially made of an importance out of. There's a significance to it because of this group and how interesting it is. Obviously, we don't really learn the full significance of this group until like a good bit later on, but here's just a sense for it. Iroh part of a secret organization that has people from like at least the Earth Kingdom, as far as we're aware, in it. When did that happen? And especially finding out that like he's a leading member of it. He's a Grand Lotus, a Grand Master. And then Zuko's just like, what's going on with these two? Like, okay, they're playing Pai Sho, but they're playing it very quickly. It's like, this isn't a usual board state you'd see in Pai Sho. As they just, you know, play this very choreographed game, forming the White Lotus on the table. And then the set lines here. What are they talking about? And of course you see Master Yu and Zinfu's in the background. And yeah, this creates so much importance to like earlier episodes of like Iroh wanting to get another like, you know, White Lotus tile. That when he lost it, he wanted to get one back. There wasn't just like it's a game he likes to play. There's a significant importance to it. So of course he'd want to get it back. It was in his sleeve the whole time. And yeah, Fung here, very clever. Other bounty hunters, let's get everyone after them and just causing a distraction as all the bounty hunters fight over who gets the bounty. And yeah, Zinfu wants to fight, of course, and obviously he's so much more powerful than them. And then you see Master Yu, just a contrast of style. Someone who's very just, you know, front-facing, just a brawler versus the more sort of, you know, technique-orientated style of Master Yu. They're an interesting contrast. You almost wish, would it be worth, you know, giving a little bit more screen time to those characters? Maybe. If they're still alive, of course, because like that's one of those kind of unresolved things of just like, were they just left forever in the box and they just died, or did they get out eventually? But yeah. Aang not asleep, just completely lost in thought about it. I just the contrast here of going from just like, what do we do, to is it Appa, to the sort of like frustration around like, okay fine, I'll go get the cloud and, you know, get us to what the water is, and then the blow up in just a second. I think it's important with Aang to, like, you know, get these sides to just highlight that, you know, this is his weakness. This helps to inform the stuff from the Guru later on as well. It's a desert cloud, not much water in that. Aang kind of assigning blame everywhere. But yeah, Katara just trying to keep the group together. And you kind of like, you know, she doesn't sort of snap back at Aang or get annoyed herself. She gets what Aang is dealing with. And obviously there's nothing she can say right now to really get Aang over it, but just kind of let him get it out in a way. And it's just a cool moment of just like, you know, yeah, Toph can barely see, but then when she actually like hits something solid like that, she does actually get a good look at it, so it's kind of pretty fun. And yeah, Sand Sailor. And yeah, they're figuring all this stuff out, but they don't kind of quite realize that, oh, that leads them to the center of the desert because it's got this kind of big magnetic rock in it rather than anything. Sokka burying Momo in sand because Momo was doing the same to Sokka just a couple of minutes ago. So just clever writing on the little, very minor parts of the episode. And here's where we find out about Iroh's rank. So many secrets, and like they just talk about like this group where they share secrets. And Zuko just thinks it's an old guy group where they do flower arranging and pie show. The cryptic arts, like what does he mean by that? Of course you get to see stuff like the secret message on the scroll from the Avatar and the Fire Lord, which was like one of the last commentaries I did. That's obviously an example of like cryptic arts, of just a secret message. But yeah, Zuko left on the outside to be frustrated about something in a slightly different way, and it's just a more humorous, like, I get you, Zuko, what is this mysterious organization? And he just has to wait there. But yeah, they don't have a sandbender on the team, but they do have an airbender, and they can get the same effect, basically. And then, yeah, this is just a cool sequence. It's just like, yeah, Momo's just flying there in place, because Sokka's holding on to him. You kind of wonder, like, maybe they had to hold on to him, because Momo on the cactus juice was probably going to fly off. Never has anyone been more happy to see a rock. And yeah, very ominous from Aang there. What will he do when he finds the sandbenders? Given just how angry and upset he is. And this is such a great joke of just like, yeah, usually in snow, but of course with an earthbender they can do the earth angel in the ground. And yeah, here we go. We've had a tease earlier on in the episode of the Buzzard-Wasps, and here's where they are, their nest. This is probably one of the better jokes as well, of just more than just the cactus juice that Sokka in this episode took to just, you know, eating these weird liquids, these weird goos that he found. Katara is so right here to just go at him for this. Are you okay, Sokka? Something buzzing. It's the Buzzard-Wasps. And of course, these are cool. This is another animal where a pro bending team gets named after. And again, a cool animal. Just like, obviously, it links somewhat in a way into the Great Divide, with the idea of a specific landmark in the Earth Kingdom where they're attacked by a specific animal. Canyon crawlers in the Great Divide, Buzzard-Wasps in the Siwang Desert. Toph, of course, can bend here properly, but she's attacking these crazy, you know, wasps flying through the air. She can't really do much particularly great work here. And then Sokka's still not quite there yet. And then Momo gets taken by a Buzzard-Wasp, and Aang is not going to let this happen. And this is such an important moment in the episode. I think it's very easy to almost just kind of look past this and not realize the significance of it, but just Aang as an airbender hurting a creature, potentially killing it, that's very big. Of course, it's to save Momo here. He won't let the only other thing left from the airbender culture, Appa and now Momo, get taken. And you see, he gets Momo back right there. Momo's fine, but he still chooses to attack the Buzzard-Wasp. And you can see it's a big impact. The thing just goes down to the ground and you don't see it move again. And you question, did Aang kill it? Or is it just sort of knocked out or whatever? Either way, the fact that he specifically went after it hits the beat of, this is angry Aang. This is what he can do when he gets lost with his sort of emotions over the people he cares about. And yeah, here we go. The Soundbenders, including the guy who muzzled Appa, as we'll get. So here's the confrontation we were waiting for. The ominous line from Aang earlier on is now going to pay off. In such a great way. One of the best emotional moments in the series, I think. And yeah, surprisingly, they're heading for Ba Sing Se. Iroh's heading back to the place where his greatest defeat, probably the most tragic moment of his life, happened. But they're going there as refugees. It is the safest place in the world because they'll just be one of many refugees. Even Iroh couldn't break through those walls. He broke through the wall, but he didn't properly get into the city. I think the idea is that, yeah, I think the Legacy of the Fire Nation directly says it actually, that like the day he broke through the walls was the day Liu Ten died. So, you know, he made a big progress, but never actually got in there because of what happened. And yeah, they explain it to the Soundbenders, and they're a lot more reasonable now after the Avatar is revealed. But Gashwin here ends up being a little bit overly defensive here and draws a lot of attention to himself. And yeah, the Soundbenders are quite reasonable. He's the leader. We must give them hospitality. But yeah, he's the one who stole Appa. He's the one who muzzled Appa. And Aang's getting more and more angry and frustrated. And they realize like how bad they've gotten themselves in here. An exotic animal, not realizing they took it from the Avatar. But yeah, clever maneuver here. Taken out with the sort of plant order. They know about the room, but not the significance of what was actually going on in there. So Yu notices the tile, but not the significance of it, of course. And then the tile also on the ground, the floor, the design on the floor as well. And it's so cool that they're able to do this, of like, they're able to come back to this with like, oh yeah, Gyatso was playing Paisho in the past in like Aang's flashbacks. Was he a part of the organization? Pian Dao, of course, they do the nice tease at the end of like the setup that he's ordered of White Lotus before we find out. And here we go. The idea that they muzzled Appa, they hurt him in some way, just sets Aang off. Avatar state here, initiated because of his emotions, which we saw previously in 103 when he found out about the death of Gyatso and his people. Just highlighting once again, this is a great use of the Avatar state to sort of super highlight an emotional dynamic for a character. Aang is dealing with, you know, the loss of people around him, and more than just being upset, it's shown like visually through the Avatar state and with the raw power that's able to be exerted, kind of highlighting just the importance of the Avatar to have control over their emotions so that this power doesn't go out of control. But yeah, you love that moment. Sokka and Toph run, but Katara stays. The Avatar state looks at her, and that expression on Katara's face is just fantastic. It's a little bit of disappointment, there's understanding in there. She's caring for Aang, she knows what he's going through, and just pulls down the most powerful being like in the universe into this hug as Aang starts to cry as he comes out of the Avatar stage. Just such a fantastic moment in terms of the execution of like every aspect of those emotions. Obviously it kind of pays off a little bit more in the next episode as we get the whole idea of like hope being incredibly important, and him finally finding that hope again, and regaining that aspect of his character that was kind of lost with the loss of Appa. But again, I think just the strength of Katara shown in this episode to keep the group together when it was sort of all falling apart. So many of your strongest characters sort of taken out of action by various situations. She kept it all together and was able to save a lot of people there. Save Aang from causing all that destruction and probably causing himself more pain and anguish for what it would have been revealed that he did if Katara hadn't stopped him. And just everything, it just works so well as being like an even better, calming Aang down out of the Avatar state moment than 103. Just executed to perfection. And then the intrigue on the other side of the story of like Zuko and Iroh heading for Ba Sing Se. That's very, very interesting that they're heading to the capital, that Zuko's journey to potentially capture Aang really is taking a big detour, and maybe he will have to consider a very different life at this point, and that's what's going to be explored over the next few episodes for Zuko. And of course we'll see him encounter Jet and everything that happens, of course building all the way up to like Laogai being a very important episode, and so on. So you can see the plot and how it's really stemming off from this. Obviously it is the episode, the library, where the book 2 plot really kicks into gear, and they have everything is connected from here on out, dynamic for everything. But yeah, this is absolutely one of my favorite episodes in terms of just the emotional beats that it hits. I can see why some people may not rate this one as highly, just because, it is another kind of like just traveling through an area type episode, and bigger plot events happen in other episodes. But I think it's impressive that they were able to do such a good character focus episode here, showing the emotion of Aang, the strength of Katara, and then the mystery on the other side of the episode with what is the Order of the White Lotus? What's going on here? What is all this extra stuff about Iroh we're learning about? Of like, he knows the rough rhinos, he has this connection to this group and is like a leading member, and Zuko's just left, what's going on? But yeah, there's my commentary for 211 The Desert. Again, in the comments, continue to recommend episodes you want me to do of both Avatar and Korra, and we'll continue going on with this commentary track series. But that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.